Billy, is that you? Are you there?
I am. How you doing?
I assume the landscapers have left. You said you had someone outside making a lot of noise.
Yeah, they're gone.
Oh, good. All right. Well, welcome to the show, my friend. And by the way, we should mention, I was on your program late Friday night. I had a long Friday. I was here for this show and then Retro Spectrum Radio with Paul E.C. And then I got to be on your show from home on the Zoom on my new computer, actually, which was nice, on Outlaw Radio. Really enjoyed that, and I did share that out. Actually, you shared it out as well, so people can give that a listen. But yeah, really enjoyed that a lot. And
conversation.
What's that? I'm sorry?
That was a good conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a great time, and I like the other part too, the shower thoughts.
Just Google shower thoughts and it'll take you somewhere, whether it be Reddit or on Twitter or wherever. You can read some very, very interesting things.
Yes, absolutely. And some of them are literally true. They're just things that you would never have necessarily thought of were you not in a shower or at some other point where you're just sort of, your mind is wandering. So, Billy, tell us about this. Now, the subject that you wanted to discuss, I previously have been faintly aware of. I have seen and heard things about this in media, about the farm murders in South Africa, but only just bits and pieces. It's not something that American media really is focused on. Maybe there are corners of alternative media in the United States that do, and that's probably where I've picked up bits and pieces of this over the years. But and there's probably international media that covers it. But I don't know much about this, and I did do a little bit of reading up about it because I wanted to be prepared for this discussion, and it's really quite shocking to me. The South African farm attacks apparently is how they're officially referred to.
Yeah.
But what is this exactly, Billy?
Well, let's start. Let's go to the very beginning of how I even got involved in this in the first place. I am an activist for the people of South Africa. I work to help bring awareness to these very violent and most heinous crimes that I have ever heard of that happened on a South African farm. Now, a lot of people might be wondering, how did I get involved in this in the first place? And that goes back to my original podcast, the Badlands Combat Sports Radio Show, as to where I was interviewing a lot of American fighters, a few of them that have fought in the UFC, a couple of professional boxers, and then I talked to a buddy of mine who co-hosted with me a lot, and I said, let's look into the international market. Let's see what's out there. He said, let's get more sponsors before we do that. And I said, and I'm like, no, we got to give it a shot. So there's I looked at promotions in the UK. I looked at promotions in Australia. And of course, I knew about the promotion out of Johannesburg. And so I just looked at the websites, looked at the champions, looked at the fighters, started sending out emails, requesting interviews. And sure enough, the first one to get back to me was the African featherweight champion by the name of Demart Pena. And then he gave me his manager's number, and I talked to her, and sure enough, it starts out when the first South African fighter I have on my show, other than a gentleman who now lives in the UK, was their middleweight champion, and I talked to him the day of his first title defense, and things snowballed from there. And my co-host later said that I made the right call, because after the interview with Gareth McClellan, who was the middleweight champion, but he lost the title that night, the sponsors started coming in, and then from there I interviewed pretty much the whole roster of the Extreme Fighting Championships that they have over in South Africa. And then one thing led to another, As shortly I quit doing the Badlands Combat Sports Radio show and focused more on Outlaw Radio. And from there, I started interviewing. I got into the musicians. One of the fighters over there had connections to a rapper by the name of Jack Parrow. And I managed to get him on Outlaw Radio back in 2016. And then, as I'm making more of these, a lot of these people from South Africa are becoming good friends of mine. I'm starting to find out, there's a bad, like almost you could say, epidemic of xenophobia going on because, you have people from Zimbabwe who jump the border into South Africa. And of course, a lot of them end up getting themselves killed. So they have xenophobic attacks all the time. They go after a lot of the Nigerians that, because a lot of the Nigerians are, they kind of, you can say that in the streets of Johannesburg, Durban, or Cape Town, a lot of the Nigerians are the drug pushers, the pimps, and, basically that kind of mob.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna insult them by saying all Nigerians, but
of course, yeah.
It's basically like a Nigerian network of crime in South African cities, though.
Yeah, and you're learning about all this just through these interviews that you're doing with these fighters.
No. I built rapport. It's not just. I interviewed the fighters about their careers and Jack Parrow more about his career. But then, after the interview, you keep touch, Facebook messages, you talk, and you start learning about what's going on in their area. And of course, now this is back in the mid-90s, shortly after I was in high school, after Nelson Mandela took his presidency, there was a documentary, and this was in the mid-90s, about crime rising in South Africa. And, they're talking about what you would expect in a normal big city, like, because let's face it, Johannesburg's got crime, Cape Town's got crime, Durban's got crime. But then before the program cut to commercial, they said the worst is yet to come. And that's when I first heard about farm attacks, and this was in the mid-90s. Mm-hmm. Farm attacks. Now, let's just say, being a South African farmer, and it doesn't matter what color you are, has been declared as the most dangerous job on earth.
Wow, no kidding.
Yeah, and when you think things through, it makes a lot of sense, And I'm not gonna embrace the apartheid regime by any means, because I do not support that kind of segregation at all.
Of course.
However, with the rising crime going on in South Africa, believe it or not, and what I'm about to say is true, no Bravo Sierra here, there are black people who lived the apartheid era in South Africa that want apartheid back because they felt safer.
Yeah, this is really stunning to hear about. What you were saying about this is, so that's the most dangerous job in the world. So, it's I'm just looking at some numbers here. South African government data indicated figures in South Africa and abroad. I'm sorry. Wrong line. Between 54 and 74 murders on farms annually in the period 2015 to 2019, and 48 to 64 murders annually during the 2010 to 2014 period, out of an annual murder count of 20,000 total murders in South Africa. I mean, it's just stunning, as an American, and probably to anybody around the world, here in the United States, you can't even imagine something like that. I mean, we, to some extent, not as much as we should probably, but, we value our farmers. We need our farmers to grow our food, et cetera. And it's it's just mind-boggling to think that there's a place in the world where being a farmer, of all things, being a farmer would actually be so dangerous. It's just, it blows my mind.
And, there's the old phrase, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Robert Mugabe did land expropriation without compensation, which is something else they're working on in South Africa, by the way. And yeah, he did that in Zimbabwe, had his goons attack the farmers, and shortly afterwards, the economy of Zimbabwe, we're talking Zimbabwe, fed the entire continent of Africa.
Okay.
After he expropriated the land and did what he did, forced especially the white farmers to move, the bottom fell out. And to this day, Zimbabwe's one of their main sources of revenue is foreign hunters who go there to hunt lions and elephants and antelopes and whatnot. That's one of their main sources of revenue, and that that's a very, very small number. So basically, Zimbabwe, or formerly known as Rhodesia, which was a thriving utopia that became a third world country under the rule of Robert Mugabe.
But what was Mugabe's motivation for what he did? Because obviously, I can't imagine that he knew that what he was doing was going to cause this, right? Or did he?
I don't know what his motivation was behind it. There's the argument too in Southern Africa, just like here in the U.S. That land was stolen from Native Americans. Land was stolen from Native Americans. I'm not going to lie about that. And they push that a lot more in places in Africa where white people are living. But looking at the facts there, that's not exactly 100% true, considering, when the Dutch first arrived in right around the Cape of Good Hope in the 1600s, all that was there were the Khoi and San tribes, are better known as the Bushmen. I mean, if you ever seen an old movie called The Gods Must Be Crazy, then you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
An indigenous tribe, they're small, frail people, a lot of, and people say that the Dutch took the Khoisan as slaves, which is definitely not true, because the Bushmen are too small and not strong enough for slave labor. I mean, they're proficient survivors in the Kalahari Desert. I'll give them that. But if you wanted to take slaves, you need big and strong people, and they're not it. So, that throws that argument out the window right there. The truth is, according to the diary of Jan van Riebeck, who was among the Dutch settlers, it was very obvious that they actually had very good rapport with the Khoi and San people, and a lot of the black indigenous tribes came from the northern provinces and countries of Africa later on. So that and a lot of them are saying that that's their land, and white people are visitors. White people are settlers, whatnot, do not belong there. But truth be told, the Khoi and San people are the real indigenous original inhabitants of the Southern Africa, and if the white people are settlers there, so are the blacks.
I'm just stunned by some of these numbers I'm looking at while you're explaining this, Billy. And this comes from Wikipedia, but it says here, as of December of 2011, approximately, and this was so this is from 10 years ago. But it says, as of December 2011, approximately 3,158 to 3,800 South African farmers have been killed in these attacks. That's stunning. I'm surprised this isn't. I'm surprised we don't hear about this more in the United States.
And let's keep in mind too, this is both, the victims are both black and white.
Yes, yeah, it makes a point of that in this article. Because it seems to say here that most of these attacks, there isn't necessarily any kind of racial component. Most of it's robbery. People are killing these farmers and stealing whatever they can. I have a practical question, and maybe this is a foolish question, but are these farmers, is there anything that they can do within the bounds of the law in South Africa to defend themselves? Because obviously, if anything like this, not that it would, but if anything like this were to happen in the United States, I think we can safely say that probably most farms, the farmer who owns the farm and lives on that property probably has a shotgun or two at the very least. Nobody's going to go trying to rob unless it happens and you just don't hear about it. Nobody's going to go try to do this in the United States. I mean, are farmers legally allowed to defend themselves in South Africa?
I'm glad you asked that, Matt, because gun control is something they're really trying to push in South Africa even more. In fact, if you want to purchase a gun now, self-defense is not a viable reason to get a gun, and you're going to be denied.
Okay.
Regardless of that, Mbeki Sealy, who he's one of the biggest morons they put in charge of the South African police service there. And he's basically saying that nobody needs a gun. But you also have corrupt officers loaning their guns to criminals to go do these heinous acts. Now, I want to explain the farm murder itself.
Okay.
I mean, they've been going on since the end of apartheid, the farm attacks, and these are planned and organized attacks. They may have somebody spy on the farm, on the property from a distance. They may have an informant who works on the farm as a worker and then tells them, this is the back entrance right here. You can sneak in right this way and get them, blah, 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 So they have those kinds of things, So, I mean, it's carefully thought out. And given the fact that these are remote areas away from big cities like Johannesburg, local law enforcement takes a lot of time to respond in these rural areas. In fact, because it was getting so bad, they used to have these forces called the Boer Commandos. By the way, Boer is the Dutch or Afrikaans word for farmer.
Okay.
And they relied on each other, but now since then, I think it was Mbeki Sealy that had disbanded the Boer Commandos, and well, the basically, I could be getting it wrong, and somebody from South Africa can tell me the true name of the army, because I know during the Anglo-Boer War there was the Boer Commandos. But the task force unit, voluntary task force unit, basically, stepped in,
So
and,
like a militia group, Okay.
Out there, your nearest neighbor could be a half a mile away.
Yeah.
And maybe more for that matter, And let's talk about the murders themselves that I can say appropriately on the air, because in a private conversation, I've given you some details, and I can't tell you everything that happens.
Yeah, needless to say, it's gruesome.
It's very gruesome what goes on. Number one, South Africa has been deemed the rape capital of the world.
Wow.
Yeah, so, I mean, your chances, I'm going to say a woman's chances of getting raped in South Africa are... I'm going to guess about maybe 60%.
Oh my God.
Those are odds I hate to give out.
Yeah. Wow. Jesus.
But, so basically a group of thugs will go onto a farm and they'll get into the house. They will take the man and tie him up, and force him to watch as they rape and torture his wife, and maybe if he's got a female, if he's got a daughter, they're going to go after her
Yeah.
too. Doesn't matter if she's an infant. Doesn't matter if if there's a female in the house. It's the odds of getting raped. From infant to elderly, they do not care. That
Yeah, that's that gives us an idea. But so, and this might be a strange question, Billy, but is that standard operating procedure for these? I don't even want to call them people, but these thugs, to put it mildly. Or is there ever any? I mean, do some of these farm attacks, do they just kill everybody? Maybe just shoot everybody and then steal everything, or is it standard operating procedure for these people to or thugs or whatever to do what you just described? Is that usually a part of it more often than not?
Well, it depends on the situation. It depends on the motive. I mean, a lot of them are being told by leaders like Julius Malema, who is also very toxic over there and should be in jail, that this land was taken from you. You need to go and take it back by any means necessary. Then he sings a song called "Shoot the Boer," and of course, I mean that only fuels the fire even more.
Yeah.
But some of this is ritual stuff too that I'm going to get into as well. So.
Wow.
A lot of them too, especially I just mentioned if they rape an infant. A Sangoma witch doctor has told many people, because South Africa has always had a pretty high AIDS count, unfortunately.
Yeah.
They're being told by a witch doctor that if they rape a baby, that's going to cure them of AIDS.
Wow. It's horrifying. So what is being done? Is anything? I mean, obviously, this has been going on for decades. Is anything being done? I mean, is there any way? Clearly nothing successful has happened because, like I said, these numbers are shocking.
Well, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa was in New York for what I forgot what they call that big meeting there. But there's a big picture of him shaking hands with Georgie Porgy Soros, and that man's another subject for another time. But he blatantly lied on national TV, said because President Trump at the time had put out something on Twitter that he was having Mike Pompeo look into the farm murders in South Africa, and the first thing that Ramaphosa does is he says there are no murders of farmers or white farmers in South Africa. So he blatantly lied and said that was not going on. When anybody knew that is Bravo Sierra. And so it's almost like nothing's being done. You realize too that these farmers now have resorted, if they can't have guns, they got to go to the next best thing. They're getting vicious dogs, and they're not even getting dogs anymore. They're putting 1 or 2 or 3 lions in their yard, highly fenced up. So imagine that. I mean, if it's bad enough that dogs aren't enough, you got to get lions.
From what I'm reading here, it sounds like there was an effort to address this. It says. This article here talks about a mix of the police and what was called the Rural Protection Plan, created in '97 by Mandela. But then in 2003, the government began disbanding these commando units. We have a call, Billy. Let's see who this is. Might be someone with a question. Oh, never mind. There's nobody there. Okay, but yeah, it sounds here like in 2003, the government began to work against that and force these groups to disband. Some of these farmers, it says here, were being trained actually by Israeli special forces. So there was help there, but then the government said, no, you can't You can't do this. You can't defend yourselves, essentially.
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, and a lot of people are like, if it's that bad, just leave. Just leave. You realize that is so much easier said than done.
Well, of course. Always. Yes.
I mean, just pack up and leave. No, that requires money. That requires government approval.
Yeah.
In fact, there's also, of course, human and child trafficking going on, as we know, and a family who they've attempted to take their daughter twice. They escaped to Finland for a while, only to have the Finnish government tell them that they can't seek asylum,
Really?
regardless of what they were going through.
Oh, that's terrible. Wow. It surprises me.
Yeah. But and I want to get to one of my main projects. I'm about to get started on wheels here. Is my next attempt to help raise awareness for the farm murders in South Africa.
Okay.
So Ernst Roots, who's the head of a company called, or I don't know if you call them a company or organization is more like it, I should say. They're called AfriForum, and they've done what they can to help farmers in South Africa, whether they're facing the government for land expropriation without compensation, or they basically suing somebody for illegitimate security after a loved one got killed and things like that. AfriForum has always been there to help them, and they're a good organization. So the head of this organization is a gentleman by the name of Ernst Roots. He wrote a book called Kill the Boer. And it was very tough for me. In fact, I think the South African government did not want me to have this book. I mean, call me a conspiracy theorist on this if you want. But, once I knew the book was out, I went to the website, I paid the money, and, it didn't ask me for anything extra for international shipping or anything. I asked what was, or I paid what they asked me to pay.
Yeah.
And about a month goes by, and nothing's happening, of course. And so I contact them, and I said, I'm here in the United States. I ordered this book. Do I need to pay extra? And they got back to me, and they said, yes, you need to pay a little extra shipping for international. So I said, no problem. How much do you need? And they refused to get back to me.
Oh, okay. They were just kind of stringing you along. It sounds like they were putting you off and hoping you'd go away. Hey, by the way, Billy, our friend Mike Sutterth is here. Hello, Mike.
Hey, how are you guys?
Well,
Good. Yeah.
Good.
Do you have any questions about what we've discussed so far, Mike? I don't know if you had a chance to listen on your way
I have
over.
not. I was stuck in the elevator. So.
Oh, I gotcha. Go ahead, Billy.
So, then came, I emailed them about 4 times and they never answered me, so I think it's like they were trying to keep this book out of my hands. But then I managed to land an interview on Outlaw Radio with Ernst Roots himself. And I told him, I ordered this book and, I'm willing to pay the extra shipping. Lo and behold, he was on his way to the United States anyway within the next week after that, and said he made sure I got the book and I didn't have to pay anything extra.
Oh, there you go. Right, yeah, that's going right to the source. Hey, we have a call. Let's see who this is. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Yeah, hi. This is Brett Sessoms from Mississippi.
Hey, Brett.
Yes, and I've followed the situation in South Africa with the farm murders and everything that Billy said is pretty spot on. I was going to add to that, saying it is more dangerous to be a farmer in South Africa than it is to be a cop in South Africa, and South Africa has one of the world's highest murder rates.
Yeah, that is shocking to me when Billy mentioned that being a farmer in South Africa, you said, Billy, that's been deemed the most dangerous job in the world. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that is stunning to me. And And it really, makes it all the more shocking when you think about it in those terms, Brett, like you just mentioned. It's even more dangerous there to be a farmer than to be in law enforcement. That is truly shocking.
Well, then again, the law enforcement there is very incompetent. I mean, all you got to do is look at him, Becky Seeley. I mean, he's incompetent as they get, and who else is he going to have under his power?
Right. No doubt. How did you get involved in following this, Brett?
Well, long story short, when I'm taught English for the South Korean Air Force, do not ask me how the South Korean Air Force would hire somebody like this, but they had this very anti-white and anti-Western South African coworker that I had, and he wouldn't be considered black by South African standards. He would be considered colored, which is descendant of Khoisan, but he saw himself as black, and about 10 to 15% of the colored population thinks that way. The other 85% think they're idiots for doing that. But he tried to impose like all kind of anti-Western and anti-white views on me. And so I started doing research of what was going on in South Africa through its history and its current affairs. And I saw the situations with the farm murders, the situations with Julius Malema, the situations with the ANC, and I just saw how distorted and messed up his views were. And honestly, the South African Air Force sent white pilots to the Korean War. They were called the Flying Cheetahs, the 2nd South African Fighter Squadron. And I wanted to make sure he wasn't going to distort their legacy or their contributions, seeing how we were teaching on a South Korean Air Force base. So I did research on that subject first, and then I started learning about all this other stuff.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Well, it's good that you took the initiative to begin researching that, Brett. That's great.
Yes, and I just wanted to add, there's this organization that non-South Africans can donate. It's called Friends of AfriForum, and it's where non-South Africans or South Africans living abroad can donate, and it's like helping AfriForum.
Okay. Very good. That is that's good to know. Oh, go ahead.
So thank you guys very much.
All right, very good. Thank you for the call, Brett. Take care. All right, very good. That might be our first ever call from Mississippi on the show. Might be.
So I just wanted to add here, I don't know how much time we got left here, Matt. I want to talk about the project that I've got going on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have a few minutes, yeah.
So, I mentioned I read Ernst Root's book, and it might as well be a horror novel with true facts. Some of the stuff I read in it, I already heard about farm murders, but then, some of the gruesome stuff. And there's stuff in ungodly detail in that book, and so it wasn't easy to read at all.
Yeah.
My stomach turned at one. I wanted to cry. I seriously wanted to cry, especially reading the story about Caleb Meyer, who's in her and her entire family were slaughtered with shovels.
Oh my God. Yeah, that is hideous. Hold that thought, Billy. Let's see who's on the line here. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hail to the king, baby. You know who this is.
Hey, what's up?
Hey. So, this whole thing about whites in South Africa. So, there's a tattoo artist that I knew who did what I consider to be the most beautiful artwork on my body to this day. She immigrated from South Africa, and during my sessions with her, I asked her about the treatment of white farmers in that country, and asked if that's actually what's going on, and she confirmed it. But nobody's talking about it, and
that's why,
now she's gone.
That's why you're here.
So
Yeah.
she's no longer with us, and I wish she was, because that woman was wonderful. But there needs to be more people talking about this kind of thing that's going on.
Well, from what I'm reading online too, it's not just white farmers, but it seems like I don't know if they're being targeted more or not. There seems to be some mixed information from what I was reading, but it seems like it's a lot more about robbery than anything. Larceny, but the way they torture these people too, unbelievable. It's just it's so sick.
Some of it's ritual as well, which I'm going to get into in a little bit. I don't want to cut your collar off. I'm sorry.
We don't want to cut off Papa Dirk, of course, our music reviewer. Yes.
Oh, no. You guys had a subject going on for today for the first hour or so.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm glad you called in.
Yeah. God, I'm just, I'm frustrated. I'm furious. I'm in Facebook jail for the next 3 days. I'm kind of angry and bitter today. And as a side note here, so, Billy knows what's been going on with Crazy Joe. And
yes,
he took it upon himself to make a video about me, talking about how I'm a stalker.
Oh.
I'm going to continue harassing him. Well, you know what? I want Crazy Joe to be listening, because I don't care what he says. I didn't take a minute of my time to record a woman inside an office who's not even looking at me. That's on him.
He did do that.
He did do that. He can say whatever he wants to about me. If it offends him, then it makes me happy about myself. I mean, he likes that phrase, doesn't he?
That's right. What does he say? The more I offend you, the better I feel. Yeah.
Any publicity
Exactly.
is good publicity.
It goes
That's
both
right.
ways.
Well, good.
So I genuinely hope he listens to this, and I hope he hears that at least I don't do, really greasy crap like that.
Yeah. Well, it's on YouTube, the video that you're talking about for all the world to see if anyone doesn't believe it.
That poor woman.
It definitely is.
Yep.
So I'll continue to watch.
All right.
I will watch. All right, but I'll let you guys go. You take it easy.
All right, Dirk. Thank you for the call, my friend. Take care. All right, that is Dirk Don from Arrogant Media. Of course, you can subscribe to the Arrogant Media YouTube channel, and Dirk also does our weekly music review here on the program,
Which I take a personal interest in.
Yes, absolutely.
Trying to promote my side gig here.
Yes, definitely. Go ahead, Billy. What were you? We have a few minutes left. Actually, hang on. We have another call. Let's grab this. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
He is a stalker. I don't care what he says. He's a stalker.
Oh boy.
He continues to say things about us which are not true. But more importantly, Dirk Dickwad.
Okay, you cannot say that, and that's FM
and
station.
Furthermore,
FM station, no D word. All right, there we go. Crazy Joe chiming in there, but he didn't have anything to contribute to this discussion anyway, unlike our other callers. So, go ahead, Billy. Sorry about that.
So just saying, after reading Ernst Root's book, I came up with an idea of my own. Ernst Roots has covered the nonfiction. I want to help raise awareness to a whole different audience, and I'm going to write something based on a lot of these facts and stuff I've read that's going to be fictional. So I'm working on a project that's going to be a horror novel called The Curse of Blood River. Now, back in the 1800s, there was a battle between the Zulus and the settlers, where the Zulus had double-crossed the Dutch settlers, and it was called the Battle of Blood River. And basically, that's where the stage is going to be set, and then we're going to go into modern-day post-apartheid South Africa, to where the descendants now, and it's going to be covered basically over a land that's cursed, and to go over to put a piece like this together, I've looked into some other facts and things that of fiction and nonfiction. Unfortunately, I had to study a couple of serial killers, like Richard Ramirez being one of them, because the way he did people in Southern California during the Night Stalker was very similar to that of how farm attacks are carried on.
Oh.
Other supernatural stories, since this is about a curse. Mm-hmm. And then I've got to look into the to the rituals of the Sangoma, because a lot of the farm attacks are also they'll cut. There's a market for human body parts to make a potion they call muti. That's supposed to be your cure-all for whatever ails you, according to them.
Oh, okay.
So this is going to be a fictional story, going to be based right around the KwaZulu-Natal province of South Africa.
Okay.
It's going to be an expensive matter. Not all the research is done because I want this to be a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
And I've even gone as far as taking ideas from one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, because they talk about how blood broke the curse, So I'm going to add that in there.
Oh, wow.
And it should be something interesting, and I want to let my South African audience know that this is another move to make awareness. And I don't want them to be offended as if I'm trying to make entertainment out of a horrible situation, because that I am not.
Right.
It's another attempt to raise awareness of what's going on. I mean, they told me a long time ago, we just had Halloween and they don't celebrate Halloween in South Africa, and I figured out why, because especially if you're a South African farmer, every day is Halloween.
Yeah. Wow. Is this, by the way, is this your first book, or have you written fiction before?
Now, this will be my first one. In fact, it's kind of a lifelong ambition for me, because as a child, I was heavily involved in creative writing and things like that. And there was a time in my life, you know how it is. What do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I want to write books. I want to be a writer. And I at least want to do one, and this is going to be the project.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, Billy. Good for you. Well, listen, we are approaching the top of the hour, so we'll have to begin to wrap up on this subject. But it is very important, and like I said, truly shocking. Anything else you want to make sure you mention about it before we go?
Well, I'll have, like I say, the project is just barely starting on wheels, but I think soon, once I get with a writing coach, because a publisher told me that I need to sit down with a writing coach. I speak some Afrikaans already.
Oh,
but so they said I need to learn some Zulu if I'm going to make this something good. So I'm going to get into that, and I do have a couple of friends that speak Zulu.
Oh, no kidding! Wow, yeah, that's. I imagine that'll be a challenge, but that's exciting. Good for you, my friend. Good for you. Well, Billy, thank you for joining us today to talk about this, and also too, why don't you give Outlaw Radio a plug?
Sure. So it's definitely it's not like FM radio. It's completely uncensored. So you're going to hear some F-bombs and other things fly there.
Yeah.
But you go to outlawradioabs.com. Of course, Outlaw Radio, give it phonetically, alphabravosierra.com.
Very good. And I thank you again for having me on to record with you Friday night. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was great.
Absolutely.
Appreciate hearing from you, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you pray, definitely pray for our farmers in South Africa, because especially if you pray, these are our brothers and sisters who are undergoing terrible, terrible times.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Bad Billy Painter, thank you so much, my friend. Wonderful to speak with you.
Yeah, thank you. You have a great one.
You got it. You too. Bye-bye.